I welcome the new NATO Secretary General to Tallinn. It's not his first visit to Tallinn, but it's the first visit of Mr. Stoltenberg as NATO Secretary General to Tallinn. We, during our brief bilateral meeting today, discussed the implementation of the decisions that were taken by the Allied heads of state and government during the recent summit in Wales. We also discussed the reassurance measures that were put in place in spring as a response to the Russian aggression against Ukraine and the deterioration of the security environment in the region. I was very impressed by the speed with which these reassurance measures were put in place, and we agreed that those measures should continue as long as necessary. We also agreed that the deterrent value of those measures goes well beyond the numbers, that NATO solidarity remains rock solid, and NATO is ready to do what it takes to defend each and every ally against whatever external threat. We also agreed that the decisions taken in Wales, including the readiness action plans, the VJTF, the Very High Readiness Joint Task Force, as well as the C2 elements to be deployed to the individual allied nations, and the NATO defense planning should be implemented as quickly and as fully as possible. We also had a very good briefing on the work of the Cooperative Center for Cyber Defense, our host today, as well as the ongoing cyber defense exercise, Cyber Coalition. These were very impressive briefings that underline the importance of cyber defense in today's security environment. And I would like to extend a very big thank you to the Allied Command Transformation as well as the Cyber Defense Center of Excellence for organizing this exercise. But over to Secretary General.
Thank you so much, and it's really a pleasure to meet with the Defense Minister and my old friend Sven Mikser, because we have met before, we have worked together before, and now it's a great honor to meet you in the capacity of Defense Minister and meet you in one of my first visits as Secretary General of NATO. And it's also a great pleasure to be here at the Cyber Defense Center of Excellence and to see and to learn more about the work Estonia, NATO and this center is doing to meet, to respond to the threats we are facing in cyberspace. And cyber attacks can be as dangerous as conventional attacks. They can shut down important infrastructure. They can have a great negative impact on our operations, and therefore it is important to develop our ability to respond to different kinds of cyber attacks. And Estonia is also offering its cyber range training center to NATO, and I really appreciate that offer. And in addition, Estonia is now hosting the Cyber Coalition 2014 exercise, and this is the largest NATO cyber defense exercise ever, and more than 600 experts are involved, and we met with them, some of them now, and they briefed me, and I'm really impressed by the work they are doing and the knowledge and the skills they are providing to NATO. We have defined and we stated at the Wales Summit that cyber defense is part of NATO's collective defense, and therefore we are focusing on how we can improve and develop our cyber defense, because it's becoming more and more important. In addition to addressing the challenges related to cyber defense and being here at the center. We also, as Sven said, we also addressed other issues, especially related to the implementation of the Readiness Action Plan. And the Readiness Action Plan is the biggest reinforcement of NATO's collective defense since the end of the Cold War. We are going to implement it in full, on time, and that is important. We are keeping NATO strong, and NATO is protecting and defending all allies against any threat, and that's the reason why we have a strong military alliance, is that we are going to provide security to all allies, also of course Estonia. So therefore it's great to meet you, great to discuss with you, and very interesting and meaningful to be here at this center, which provides such high competence skills within cyber defense.
We have time for just a few questions.
Bunker from Sky News. Perhaps I want to ask you two brief questions. You talk about cyber defence being part of the collective defence. Do you envisage a scenario in the future where a cyber attack could elicit a traditional military response, boots on the ground perhaps? And a word on Russia, if you may. What sort of part do they play in a cyber threat, and how is their traditional military threat growing?
So we will always do what it takes to defend all allies. Cyber attacks is something which is not might happen, or most other attacks we are preparing for are attacks that might happen in the future. Cyber attacks is something which is happening every day, and we are responding every day to different kinds of cyber attacks. I think it's wrong of me to speculate in what way we are responding. We are responding in the ways which are required, which are necessary, and we do what it takes to protect all allies against any attacks, including cyber attacks. It's hard. I mean, we are facing attacks from many different places and from many different many different kinds of cyber attacks, and it's hard to tell exactly where all of them are coming from. But the important thing is how we are responding to the attacks, and NATO is responding in a very resolute and very strong way to all kinds of cyber attacks, very much because of the skills and the expertise which is developed at this center.
Mainly for the Secretary General. What, in the broader sense, what can the media do in order to promote either national or alliance-wide security?
What media can do?
Yes.
I'll be very careful to say anything about what media can do, because in my view, the main purpose of NATO is to protect free, open, democratic societies, and that includes an independent media. So I have strong opinions about many things, but one of the things I don't have any strong opinion about is how media shall behave in open democracy. So I leave that to the media, in a way, to decide what the media is going to do.
Good times.
NATO has a well-established cyber defence capability, and NATO individual members are developing offensive cyber capabilities. Are there any plans for NATO to develop a collective offensive cyber capability?
Our cyber defense is defensive, it's defense. And our responsibility, NATO's responsibility, is to defend our own systems. And then in addition, we are helping, assisting allies to develop their defense, cyber defense. And we are doing that, for instance, through exercises like this, by sharing information and by working together with allies. But that's about defensive actions, defending, protecting our systems, our allies against attacks. It's not about aggressive actions from NATO against others.
Secretary General and Minister of Defence, earlier today the President of Lithuania said that Mr. Putin was a terrorist. What impact do you think any move to loosen sanctions on Russia will be, economic sanctions, or do you think that we should keep pressure on Russia or increase sanctions?
Well, if I may start, I would say that what the current Russian regime has been doing in Ukraine with regard to the conflict in Ukraine, including the annexation of Crimea earlier this year, is in violation with virtually every international norm of behavior. And I very strongly believe that the international community should maintain pressure on the regime in Russia in order to bring it into accordance with those international norms of behavior. Economic sanctions are an integral part of that pressure.
I would just state that I very much welcome the economic sanctions that are imposed by all NATO allies and also by other nations against Russia. Because as the defense minister just said, Russia has violated international law, it has violated its international obligations, and it has violated the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Ukraine. And this kind of behavior should have a consequence, should have a cost, and the economic sanctions are imposing a cost and tells Russia that there are consequences when they are behaving in the way they are doing. So I welcome the sanctions. Economic sanctions is not the responsibility of NATO, but NATO allies are imposing sanctions, and I, of course, welcome that.
My question is related to the very high readiness joint task force to respond to potential threats at the NATO border. Have you decided yet, or maybe you could give us some info, who will be the host nation for preposition of equipment, designation of the specific bases, who is going to provide the bases, and if Romania is on the table?
So we have decided on the readiness action plan. We have decided to implement all the different elements of the readiness action plan. Parts are already implemented. For instance, the assurance measures, which means that we now have more boots on the ground, we have more planes in the air, and we have more ships at sea than we had before. And we are going to continue with this increased military presence in our Eastern allied countries. In addition, we are going to do other things, like for instance establishing a very high readiness force or a spearhead force. This is a work in progress, so all details are not yet decided. But for instance, we are going to have command and control elements deployed forward in 6 countries, in the 3 Baltic countries, and in Bulgaria, Romania, and Poland. We are going to follow up on the implementation. We are going to have an update on the implementation on the NATO Foreign Minister meeting in December, and then we're going to take decisions on the defense ministerial meeting in February. So we have already implemented, and we are going to implement more, but the details are going to be decided later on.
Thank you very much.